Hi. I have been sitting here trying to bring what I want to say into some sort of cohesive focus, and I don't think I can because it's still not fully formed in my head. So I'm just going to talk about some things that I feel are related and important to bring together. For whatever reason, I just feel like I need to talk about this. So we'll see how well it turns out. And if you, as the viewer, can get anything out of it. Okay, here goes. So the first thing I want to talk about is I have been working with two other Akashic readers, and we're in the beginning stages of getting a collaboration going that we will post. And it's not solidified yet, but something that has come through for this group, and I think personally for each of us individually, that the focus of the information we are receiving and putting out into the world has been represented in what I've seen in the Akashic records as these crystals. They're these very clear crystals. Sometimes they're sort of rainbow colored, but they have been like blooming, coming up from the ground, and giving me the idea that it is a very grounded space and a very grounded, embodied place that the information that we provide lands for other people. I don't think I said that very well, but the information needs to be grounded within our physical body, within our earthly body, regardless of what the subject is and what we're talking about. And so I haven't gotten a sense yet of what these crystals represent. But I know it's something that we are forming together. And I've also been called recently through messages to continue my shamanic journeys, but to go into what is considered the lower world. As I understand it, we as humans live in middle world. And then there's the higher world of more etheric stuff. And anyway, other people can describe that better than I can right this moment. So I did a shamanic journey yesterday after a reading because I felt it was important. And I saw these crystals again, and my guide to the lower world for this shamanic journey was a squirrel. And in this journey, I was floating on my back basically through the whole journey, and this little squirrel was sitting on my stomach. And when we got to the lower world, I saw these crystals around, coming out of the walls, and all of a sudden this squirrel started getting big, it turned into a squirrel balloon, and it just got bigger and bigger until it popped like a balloon would when it hit the ceiling of this cave, this underground cave that we were in. And when it popped, it was just the regular size squirrel again, sitting on my chest. And the message that I received was that the squirrel was taking in, as an example for me, this crystal information, this crystal knowledge, and it was going into the squirrel's mental body and inflating the ego bigger and bigger until it reached some kind of physical structural limitation and popped. And what I saw was, it was always the same squirrel on the inside. It was just this inflated mental energy that had gotten bigger because of the information from the crystals. And so I was like, okay, well, what do the crystals hold? What do these crystals represent? And the crystals are a representation of the, I want to say, what felt like universal knowledge, the universal truths that we are coming into more and more awareness of, and that feels very extraordinary or magical, impossible. It's like getting all of these secrets that we didn't know we were a part of, and getting very excited by it. And I do that. I get very excited by it. But when the way that it felt, the message was like, when we contain it and want to keep it in our mental space and not embody the information, literally bring it into our physical body and work with it within our emotional bodies, that it sort of creates this imbalance for us. It's giving me the idea of like people who kind of get that superiority complex of, well, I know more than you know, or it's better for me to know all of the facts and all of the meaning behind every message, and to be able to receive all of this stuff clearly and precisely. And it's sort of like the universe is saying that's not how it always works, especially in this human existence, within this human casing that is our grounding to Gaia. I'm just getting like this sense of like, it's how we stay magnetized almost to Gaia, how we stay in contact with Gaia, with this earth. Okay, so now that we have a little bit of that background, I'm going to jump to the reading that I did before that shamanic journey, and why that information came in, I believe. And I was working with someone who has been struggling to receive clear messages about themselves, and feels like I think they feel like they're very competent working with other people and getting clear messages, and are, as they said themselves, a highly intelligent person, and their mind is bored because they're not getting clear messages for themselves, and they feel that they have waited long enough for this gift or ability to be formed. And so the information that I received from their Akashic records is that they already have all of the messages that they need inside of them, but because they're wanting it to look like a perfectly formed structure, like clear, precise received message, and also because they are not in deeper connection with their body, that is what has put their messages sort of on hold. It's kind of like they're putting so much focus on how special or significant the mental body is, that they're reinforcing the idea that the body is so insignificant. And by layering on experiences that they've had in the past and like coming back to these stories of, I can't experience this because that happened to me, it creates this protective layer that keeps the body in this, what I'm seeing and what I was seeing in the records is like this soft, exposed, naked body kind of cowering underneath a tarp or a cover or these protective layers that the mental body has provided. And that the body itself is sad and lonely and wants to be seen, like it wants to be exposed and feel the sunlight on its skin. It wants to come out of this protective shadow. And it's very interesting because it was a reading exchange, and when the person was reading for me, I asked for just general guidance, and they gave this person a very fuzzy image, and the person is used to getting clear, concise, like it just comes, they know what the message is, and the person was struggling because they weren't getting something precise. And I knew in that moment that my Akashic records were providing them with this experience, with this example of what that feels like for them to get a fuzzy message and just have to hold space for it and sit with it. And that I am a person that can do that. And it was very interesting to be a witness of seeing someone who can't stay in that space because they were unsatisfied with the information they were giving me. They were frustrated and said, well, I can't just give you this. I have to give you something. It's sort of that what gave me the feeling of, I need to fix this for you. I need to fix this situation and get something that is helpful for you. And I honestly didn't feel that I needed that. The simple image that they gave me, I knew what the records were telling me. But this person wanted something substantial and clear and concise to give me, and so they decided to pull some cards. And the cards that they pulled for me, like, got them through this, got them into that clear, concise message that satisfied their mental body. And it was just confirmation of what I had already received from their vague message at the beginning, and were things that I have received before, and it's just a reinforcing message for me that in some ways I didn't need. Like, it's nice to have. I appreciated it, but I would have been okay not getting that. But I think I needed to witness that struggle that the person had of needing to self-soothe mentally. And I know that I can go into this space myself. I think that I've talked about this. I know I've put it in a video. I don't know if I've posted the video. But you know, I didn't start coming into my true physical body and with awareness until the end of 2020, 2021, but especially in 2022, whenever I went through my somatic practitioner training. And it's still an ongoing process. And it was really helpful for me to see that and see what it looks like from the outside to go into that sort of it's not manic, but it has that energy of being manic, or like just grasping and needing that mental knowledge, that confirmation, that proof, that defined, clear message with the crisp edges. Like there's no room for doubt, or fuzziness or distortion. And I don't think that that's how the subtle energy works. So the other part that I want to add to this was being witness again to someone who especially is in their mental space, or giving priority to the mental space and wanting a specific answer to come through, and how resistant they are in that energy to receiving anything else. Letting a message that doesn't feel like it's presented in a tidy little wrapped up bow, or that aligns with what they want to hear, or sort of the belief that they're in, when that doesn't align, how resistant they can be to a message. And it brings me back to a person that I watch sometimes on YouTube, who there's some of their messages that I'm like spot on, yes, I fully agree with, but they also dive into the political arena and they channel some political figures on occasion. And me personally, I feel the distortion coming through when they do that. And I've asked my Akashic records about it a couple of times, and they're like, trust yourself, trust that there's distortion there, that you're not misreading or misinterpreting, that there's distortion in their message. So I don't know, maybe 3 weeks ago now, this person did a video where they also were doing a reading for a client, and this client could not hear any of the messages. Like everything that the reader said, the client was like, no, that's not me, no, that's not right, that's, in the space of no, basically. And what's funny is a little bit later in the video, the person talked about having a dream, and also one of their clients having a dream, the same dream of the current US president coming to them in sort of a predatory way. And this person's videos are based on the messages and dreams and journeys and channelings that they receive regularly. So the person, instead of thinking, I wonder if there's some message that's trying to come through about the predatory behavior of this political figure, they came from this, this mental, I don't want to say it's a blockage, but it's like there's no room in their mental space to consider that they can be okay with the policies of this person, and that this person can also be a predator. And they talked about how there is information of this person having multiple clones. Which I don't know, maybe this person does. I have no idea. At this point, it's kind of like anything's possible. But if I received my own message and someone else's had the exact same message for me of someone being a predator, and I mentally said, maybe it's this person's clone. It's not really this person. Instead of being able to hold the space of, I like this person's policies and this person may also be a creep, like being able to hold those two potential truths in one space, like trying to find a mental escape or a mental reason or bypass for essentially not wanting to hear the messages that are presented. And I was just like, oh, the irony. And I want to make a comment so bad, but it's like, will it fall on deaf ears, right? Like, and it's like, this person will get the message that they need to get eventually. And it's probably not going to be for me in any comment that I make on YouTube. And of course, I would present it in the kindest, most gentlest way that I could. But, you know, that's also my perspective. Maybe I'm totally full of BS as well. And I don't know. But how I want to wrap this up, I think, is that from this person's reading that I did yesterday, it was a reminder that whether we realize it or not, we are all constantly receiving messages and synchronicities and guidance. And it is a practice for us to be able to bring that into focus and to step away from needing to know the precise meaning of everything that we get. It's almost more like, okay, I'm gonna make a note of that. And then that thing also came in. I'm gonna make a note of that too. And I'm just gonna put those notes in my back pocket. And at some point, those notes are gonna make more sense. Just like with those crystals for me growing out of the ground, you know, it's been at least a couple of months since the idea of those crystals were presented to me, and not knowing exactly what they represent and why they're in the ground and why this grounding energy is so important with those crystals, with that knowledge that's coming in about the bigger aspects of our universe and our existence on this planet, and how we take that information literally into our bodies in some way and not just keep it in this like fun knowledge base and use it for our mental entertainment, really. I think just holding that knowledge in our head doesn't get us as far. It almost like feeds the frustration of it, versus bringing things into these subtle daily practices that feel like they're not doing anything in the moment, but lead to changes down the road. I just got interrupted. Okay, so I'm gonna wrap this up because I feel like I'm just sort of going all over the place. But what I want to follow this up with in a separate video is tying in this video and the one that I did recently about coming into a state of peace, which happens in our body, I think, almost first and foremost, and then into our mind. But we have to let our mind get into that space of almost being okay with being bored, with taking a back seat to what the body needs. So I will try to post that because I am about bringing this into practical knowledge in our daily lives. I know that is where I am being led, and how we use that to move us forward and to be in a state of contentment with the present. Okay, gonna leave it there. If you feel called to have a personal reading, that can be found in the description box. Thank you, friends. I appreciate you being here. Bye.